As an instructor, you can create quizzes and tests for your students in a variety of ways. Using publisher-provided software such as ExamView or TestGen, using Respondus, an application available to you through GTCC, or you can create the quiz directly in Moodle. This tutorial covers creating a quiz directly in Moodle. However, the other options are equally as good for test creation. Tests or quizzes created with publisher software or Respondus can be imported into Moodle. Feel free to view the tutorial on importing or visit eLearning for assistance. To begin the quiz activity, turn editing on. After editing is enabled, you'll see in the blocks that you have the option to select Add a Resource or Add an Activity. Choose the Add an Activity drop-down menu and select Quiz. A new window appears. This window serves as the control panel for our quiz. The control panel controls when the quiz is available, whether or not students may reattempt it, the grading method for the quiz, the question order, whether answers are shuffled, and how students receive feedback. Our first step is giving our quiz a name. We'll call this quiz Your First 2 Weeks. In the description box, we'll type our directions. If you want to display the description of your quiz on the course main page, click this box. If you want date parameters for when the quiz is available, set them here. You can also set a time limit for your quiz. Once a student opens your quiz, the timer starts. If the student exits Moodle prior to submitting the quiz, the timer continues. The quiz timer is not dependent upon whether the student is active within Moodle or not. For some quizzes, like a Moodle syllabus quiz, you may wish to give your students unlimited attempts. For other quizzes, perhaps not. Set this here. The grading method is typically highest grade. However, you can also choose to take the average of all their attempts or the highest or lowest scores depending upon what works for you and your course. The grade category has more relevance if you have established categories for your gradebook, which we will cover in a separate tutorial. The question order has two options: displayed as shown on the edit screen and shuffled randomly. The new page option indicates the number of questions you want displayed on a new page. You can have all of your quiz questions on one page, one question per each page, or any variable in between, as you can see here. Question behavior controls the questions within the quiz. You can opt to shuffle the answer within the questions, control the adaptation and feedback options, and the difficulty for the attempts. Review options controls what students will see and when. The default is to have all of the review options checked. If you want your students to see the choices indicated on the screen at the various review points, while the quiz is open, after the student completes it, and then after the quiz is closed, then you can choose those options here. Display provides you the controls for displaying the student's pictures, deciding the number of decimals you want for grade calculations, and whether to show blocks during quiz attempts. Most likely, the default options that you see here will probably work for you. Extra restrictions on attempts provides options for password controls, network address, delays between attempts, and browser security. In all likelihood, the defaults, as in the section before, are probably fine here. The overall feedback is what students will see at the completion of the quiz regarding their overall score for the quiz. Grade boundaries refer to who sees what feedback at what level of performance. The highest score, 100%, is listed first. We'll let these students know that they are awesome. We can also set a secondary boundary here for 90%. we'll say that these students did really well. If you wanted to set a grade boundary for 65%, perhaps we can suggest that these students review their resources or seek us out for some additional assistance. When you scroll down, you'll come to the Common Module Settings and Restricting Access. These are covered in a separate tutorial and will not impact the creation of your basic Moodle quiz activity. Click Save and Display when you are finished making your selections on the Options page so that we can create your Moodle quiz. A new window appears after you select Save and Display. You can either select Edit Quiz or go back to the course. Because you have not yet created any quiz questions, select Edit Quiz. The quiz creation page appears. In the center, you create questions. On the right side of the page, you'll see the question bank window. The drop-down menu indicates the category or folder for where we want our questions to live. The default is typically the course, as you see here. We're going to change this to be the default category for our quiz, Your First 2 Weeks. Changing the category makes the quiz questions previously visible in the course category no longer visible. They're still there, they're just not visible to us. No questions exist in our question bank for our quiz Your First 2 Weeks because we haven't created any questions yet. We need to add some questions. Our first step is to click Add a Question. A new window appears where we'll select the type of question we want to create. Our first question type will be true-false. Select True-False and click Next. A new window appears. The question name is different from the actual verbiage of the question. The name field serves as a nickname of sorts for the question, where you'll be able to recognize it later in a list if you wanted to use it again. So for us, our question name will be True-False Syllabus. Our text question the default mark value we leave set to 1. I don't really feel that general feedback is necessary for this question, so I'm going to leave it blank. The correct answer for our question is true. You are not required to create any feedback for your quiz questions. Doing so, however, is extremely helpful for your students, and I am including feedback for you on our quiz. So if the question is answered correctly, students will see my feedback for the incorrect response, the last 2 areas of the quiz question interface are not critical to the quiz question, so don't worry about them. Remember to click Save Changes. Let's create one more question. We return to the quiz editing screen and click Add a Question. The question type window appears. We'll select Multiple Choice and click Next. The nickname for the question we're about to create will be Min-Rec, or Minimum Requirements. Our question text again, I am not going to provide general feedback for this question. When we scroll down, we'll see that we can set our question for one answer only or multiple answers. Our question is going to have multiple answers, so we'll click that. If multiple answers are allowed, you'll need to have some idea of their specific weights for the question, but more on that in just a second. If you want your answers to be shuffled, click the checkbox. We can number the choices as listed in the drop-down menu here, and I'm going to pick numbers. When we scroll down more, we're going to see our options as choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, etc. We're going to enter our first option here. If the student selects this choice, we need to give the student a grade for that choice. If the answer were incorrect, we would likely provide none, which is the default in the drop-down menu. But we do have the option to penalize the student by subtracting a value for that answer, also shown in the drop-down box. Because we are allowing more than one answer, and we have a total of 2 correct answers for our quiz question, selecting this choice will actually earn you 50%. And again, I like feedback. Here's our option for choice 2. And again, this answer is also going to receive a score of 50%. And our feedback for that question. And when we scroll down, we'll have a third choice and feedback. Once we're finished entering in all of our possible options, we'll scroll down and we can see the combined feedback. You can include combined feedback for any correct response, for any partially correct response, or for any incorrect response. And the penalty for each incorrect try can be indicated here. Scrolling down further on the page, you can see that there is an option for you to include a hint for your students. Hints appear after an incorrect choice is selected. Scrolling again, you'll see tags. Tags are not critical to include when creating a quiz and are covered in a separate tutorial. Remember to click Save Your Changes or you'll be getting a lot of practice creating quiz questions.